Thank you, Tanchi, for being here with us. We were talking about Common Core, and another thing that is interested people in South Dakota is how South Dakota is doing with Common Core. We tend to think that we're from South Dakota, we're conservative, we love our kids, we love our teachers. We would never be hoodwinked into bringing something into South Dakota that was anti-children, anti-teachers, and yet that seems to be what we did.
It does seem to be what we did. Common Core did not come to us in the same way other education reforms came to us. In fact, Common Core came around the usual channels. It was adopted by the U.S. Department of Education through the National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers.
Can you tell us what the full name of National Governors Association is?
The National Governors Association Center for Best Practices.
Best practices.
Yes.
Now, who determines the best practices?
Well, those would be bureaucrats.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. It's the same in medicine with Obamacare. It is, they've established a pattern, basically. And yes, these best practices are decided not by teachers, but by bureaucrats, as you say, and let's face it, other stakeholders. Those stakeholders are what you and I would probably call crony capitalists.
Another word for a stakeholder is somebody who's going to get the money.
That's
somebody
right.
who is
Someone
on board.
Yes, profit from these efforts.
That's right.
It could be Pearson, which is a textbook company. It could certainly be Bill Gates, who financed most of Common Core.
And we use his computers.
That's right. And he sees this as, a great future market for him.
The children are.
And, quite frankly, it's hard to find an entity involved with education that hasn't been given money by Bill Gates for the promotion and adoption and marketing of Common Core state standards.
Yes.
And that would include the NGA, we'll use the shorthand version, the National Governors Association, and the Council of Chief State School Officers. They're two of the largest grant recipients from the Gates Foundation. Others may surprise you. The Chamber of Commerce is right up there. And, there
So let me understand. These people are getting money to write these standards.
They're getting money. Well, the NGA and the CCSSO got the money to write the standards.
From Bill Gates.
Right, and they were adopted by the Governors Association and the CCSSO.
Let's talk about the governor.
They hold the copyright.
That's right.
To these standards. So the states that have adopted the standards don't own the rights to them, and that is very, very troubling.
Now, the National Governors Association, that must be representative of the people, right?
Not necessarily. It's representative of the governors.
I also know it's representative of trade organizations.
That's right.
Some of the trade organizations that fund the National Governors Association are the Tides Foundation, the Open Society Foundation, and the George Soros Foundation. Those are three of which George Soros himself has developed and basically belong to him. So those are the people that are influencing our governors.
Our governors, yes. And when you think about it, I've heard this point made before. Why should the governors, even if they wrote the standards themselves, what qualifies them to write the education standards for all of the children in the United States?
Well, even in South Dakota is supposed to develop our own standards according to our own statutes, our own state law.
True.
And this Common Core standards, not one South Dakotan has written any of those standards.
No, in fact, I've got the list of the work group right here, and there are basically five main authors. Two of them, Sue Pimentel and David Coleman. Now, you've heard of David Coleman if you've been paying attention to the SAT, because David Coleman is now president of the College Board, which writes the SAT and the GED and all of the advanced placement tests.
So he writes the standards, then he writes
the tests to reflect the standards. The math standards were mainly authored by Jason Zimba, and he had, as you can see from this list, a handful of other educrats that assisted with that. But But the important thing to know is that none of these people had any K through 12 teaching experience. Not in the English language arts and not in mathematics. So again, you have to ask yourself what qualifies these people and why did we not question them. There are two people that did question them. Sandra Stotsky, Dr. Stotsky is the English language arts authority in the United States, the preeminent authority, and Dr. James Milgram, who is a very serious math scholar. Neither one of them would sign off on these standards because they were substandard.
Yes. Well, I think Dr. Stotsky said that they were hollow.
That's right.
That they were almost like worthless, and
Empty
she should
skill
know
sets.
because. Thank you, and because she has written standards for Massachusetts, where she's from, which were the highest in the nation.
That's right, and we should aspire to know less.
That's right, and we're going to break right here and come back with a little more information what you can do about Common Core in your small area of the world.